My topic today is something that affects every single person in this classroom. It's the topic of college tuition. The cost of college has risen over the past few decades and is projected to rise over the next few years. Most people think, or some people believe that college should be free. This is obviously not a viable solution because the money to pay teachers or to expand new technology and infrastructure has to come from somewhere. However, I do believe that it's clear that lowering the cost of college will have a positive effect on America. My first claim is that student loan currently cripples college graduates financially. Currently, more than 44 million Americans collectively owe more than $1.5 trillion in student loans, according to a recent study done by CNBC. That comes out to about $37,000 for each college graduate, which is a $20,000 increase from what it was in 2005. So lowering the cost of college allows recent graduates to get a head start in life as they're able to buy a new home, a new car, without having to worry about student loan debt hanging over them and causing them to be in debt as they're paying off these loans. My second claim is that the high cost of college deters lower income students from being able to go to college. So a recent study done by Southern New Hampshire University shows that 14% of low-income students graduate with a bachelor's degree or higher within 8 years, which is compared to 30% of middle-income students. So this is obviously a really low number, as if you're looking at like socioeconomic status, you see that only 14% of low-income students are going to college and graduating. The reason they're dropping out is because the cost of college gets so high that they're unable to pay for it as they're already impoverished and now have to worry about paying for student loan debt. So these students often drop out, and this causes our country to suffer as we begin to rank lower in educational categories throughout the world. So currently the three most educated countries in the world are Canada, Japan, and Israel respectively. So most educated being defined as the country which has its highest population of adult citizens with a bachelor's degree or higher. So if we look at the countries that I just listed, Canada, Japan, and Israel, not surprisingly, these countries have some of the lowest tuitions across the world. Canada's average tuition is only $5,794. Japan is only $11,000, and Israel is less than $3,000. If you look at the U.S. public in-state tuition, we're looking at over $20,000, and if we're looking for out-of-state tuition, that goes to over $35,000. So while lower tuition doesn't directly correlate with having better education, it's clear that the top three countries have some of the lowest education. Top three countries for education have some of the lowest tuition in the world, and it's clear that if America begins lowering its college tuition costs, we'll be able to rank higher up on the list. So by lowering college tuition, colleges could prevent lower-income students from being financially overwhelmed and dropping out, allowing the U.S. to rank higher in these categories. My third and final claim is that students choose majors and careers that will pay more in order to pay off debt, instead of majors and careers that they actually enjoy. This will cause public service jobs, which tend to pay lower, to be less in demand. Public services jobs include stuff like teaching or social care workers. According to a report from the Joint Economic Committee of Democrats, graduates saddled with student loans may feel constrained about the types of jobs they can accept, avoiding lower-paying jobs in teaching, the arts, or public services, and instead opting for higher-paying jobs. These jobs that I just listed are highly important, but if college costs continue to rise, students are going to want to choose majors that pay more, and they'll ignore these lower-paying majors, but that are actually influential to America. So America will suffer if these public service jobs become less populated, because these jobs play an important role in our society. Furthermore, students who do pick majors based on future salary over interest are more likely to drop out, according to a research study done by uplanet.com. So their study shows that they interviewed some students who did majors based on interest and why they dropped out. They were interviewing students who dropped out. They found out the majority of students dropped out because the major they picked was one they weren't interested in. So if America lowers its tuition costs, these students will pick majors that they're able to enjoy because they're not worried about salary or future debt or future student loan that they'll have to pay off. So all in all, lowering college tuition would have a positive effect on America, as its college graduates would be better off, its lower-income students are able to get their rightful education, and its public service jobs will not dwindle, as students will worry less and less about future salary to make up for the crushing student loans they're currently facing. Thank you.
All right, some really good stuff. I think that you had a very clear statement of your proposition. I like the introduction and the way it's set up there. The body of the speech is well organized, although I do have a caveat to give you in just a second. And you explained most things. Like on that third point, I thought there was a good explanation of what it was that you were talking about and why that was important. On the second point, you know, the value of being listed higher on a list of the most educated countries is not particularly well explained, so that might not be as strong an issue as the other point was, but it's, you know, you had some reason for talking about that second point. The information that you present, I think, is pretty solid for the most part. There's some statistical information early on about costs and the relationship to income of students and whether or not they complete a degree. I thought that that was very effective information. I think you could use a little bit more authority in some of your points to help you make the inferences that you're making, but the examples and the statistics that you use are pretty solid. And I think that you have a good argument from the basis of the supporting points that you presented. A couple of things that are problematic. I want to jump at the one that popped out at me immediately. There's not really a preview of what the supporting structure is going to be, so you want to lay out a roadmap for us at the beginning of the speech. And then, like I said, everything else I think was really solid. Okay, thank you.